Well, if you did, you could probably work around the sensors and still be pre-erotic. Or is that more of a 90s thing? We open with the Tresmagil watching a live feed of Loco and Kiwi's fight from the previous episode while still training in the mountains. Karko kind of rightfully pointed out that they should just let the villains have their little civil war while they worked on their training and hopefully their animation too. Yes, unfortunately, I think they blew the budget again with the last couple of episodes, otherwise I'm pretty sure that's not how water flows. But yeah, Sayo was still in full darkness mode in more ways than one, but her friends were helping her, including bringing up the point that technically she was the only member of their team who didn't have a special weapon, as her ice sword was literally just that, a frozen extension to her normal wand. It's an interesting little detail that you don't really notice until the characters themselves point out, so good development there. Later, we checked in on Liba Bluma and Loco after the latter's brutal punishment from Lord in the last episode, which actually would be important here. Though, and also, of course she would produce her own merch, though I would happily buy that plushie for my collection. Anyway, they decide to head out for their next evil deed, and at the same time, our main trio regroup with a fully healed Utena, and Kiwi, who wanted to thank Korisu for saving her. Hey, if it's a Witch from Mercury kit, I'll happily take it off your hands. Seriously, this is one of the best Gunpla lines ever. More importantly, Utena was dead set on taking out Lord's brigade, thus as soon as Valida found them, they head out. Though at first, it didn't seem like Loco and Bluma were doing anything particularly wrong. I mean, they were just holding a concert, but then you realize it's a concert for Loco, which unless you bring in the rest of the Etotama cast to sing Blue Moment, it's hard to imagine that the crowd was there by choice. What works on YouTube doesn't necessarily work IRL. Believe me, I know. But yeah, you could kind of see the audience's distress, though again, the visuals aren't great in this episode, so it's actually kind of hard to see their flowing sweat, but their obviously forced cheers did audibly cover for it, kind of. Anyway, Kiwi of all characters ended up saving the day, which Utena took note of. This led to another fight between the villainesses, where Bluma revealed her power, which was basically Shikamaru's ninjutsu, in which she could travel between shadows and even take control of a person if she invaded theirs. Not pretty neat power, if only for the creepy effects she used when appearing in and out of the shadows. It also gave her good synergy with the projectile-based Loco, even though the girls themselves argued like an old married couple.
Just already!
But yeah, it was an interesting fight where both sides tried to outpace the other, that was unfortunately held back by the animators taking a break this week. For instance, this bit of Bluma possessing Kiwi would look a lot better if they simply extended her mouth a little to cover up half of Kiwi's to make for some actually creepy imagery, rather than just this half-assed junk. But yeah, Utena came up with a pretty clever plan that actually involved Kiwi getting purposely possessed just so that they could recreate how they escaped from Loco in the last episode, though it would be way more effective against a shadow creeper. And while forced out of Kiwi, Korisu matched the trapper in one of her dollhouses. A good plan where Utena could then hold Bluma hostage under the threat that she'd crush the dollhouse, which did make me want to point out that she'd be destroying one of her friend's toys, but then she quickly addressed this by apologizing in her mind to her friend, which was nice. Though I don't think our little Alice herself minded that much, as she was pretty damn chill throughout these past few episodes. Anyway, to save her friend, Utena forced Loco to undress in what seemed to be a bit of a repeat of what Lord did to her.
いい格好ですね。アリス、あっち向いとけ。
Yeah, just look away and go play with the girl who has probably the biggest wedgie ever. However, and while what Utena was doing was certainly not nice either, it did quickly become apparent that her quote-unquote punishment to Loco was leagues better than what Lord did to her. Because, as always, Utena's MO has been to try to better others by forcing them to confront their weaknesses while not heavily harming them in the process, or at least not leaving too many lasting scars. In Loco's case, she was not only addressing her lack of commitment to singing even while in her birthday suit, but also made the not too surprising reveal that Bluma had been forcibly pinning the crowds in place to listen to her sing. The magical idol herself didn't realize this, and her friend was earnestly just trying to help her from the literal shadows. However, much like her other friends and mother who didn't criticize her singing, they were all pretty much just coddling her, and thus she could never actually improve. Obviously, this is even more the case with Lord's punishments, which were actually reductive, as they didn't even point out her faults and were just cruel torture. What Loco really needed was something in between with Utena's admittedly passive-aggressive gaslighting, which, to be fair, is kind of the basis of a lot of training, like a teacher telling a student they know they can do better, which she did. I honestly kind of prefer the cringy bad singing rather than just this plain good singing. But yeah, by ironically doing the exact opposite of that one popular technique of overcoming stage fright, Loco was able to focus more on entertaining the minute crowd she had in front of her, which was probably something she had been lacking from the start by focusing on just making herself stand out. Though, and also, she might have awoken to exhibitionism. Yeah, I didn't say Utena's training techniques were the healthiest methods. Anyway, the episode ended with Loco and Bluma admitting defeat and even revealing their secret identities as Matama and Nemo respectively, and the former offering to join Utena's team. This was a good episode to more properly introduce us to Matama and her shadow manager. Nemo's shadow powers, while a little played out beyond even Shikamaru, were still pretty cool and were used creatively, and Matama got some good, if slightly questionable, development. It is unfortunate that the inconsistent animation prevented Nemo from, I guess appropriately, shining, but at least Utena-sensei was able to stand out. What I really liked about this episode was its subtlety, which, yeah, you wouldn't expect out of an ecchi show where characters are literally exposing themselves every other scene, but there was actually some good visual storytelling here. Obviously, there was stuff like the crowd being visibly forced to listen to Matama singing, or Nemo herself being the one behind the captivated crowd and not explaining her motivations. I like stuff like that, where they let the viewer draw their own conclusions. And of course, the best example of this was Utena acting as Matama's music instructor, and the idol herself realizing the difference between her and Lord. After all, she wouldn't just ditch the latter and join the former without good reason. Part of it might have been because she was going down the same path as another one of Utena's victims, but unlike with Sayo, she is genuinely helping improve her craft. As has been established, the masochistic villainess loves all cute things, so of course that would include idols, which then leads her to want to toy with them a little. But thankfully, she's not like a certain famous idol producer who has committed much worse crimes than her. She actually wants to constantly improve the wannabe idol, rather than just meeting the minimal requirements of having a cute face. And while her methods are certainly questionable, they are also forcing people like her to accept their own faults. In a way, Utena is very selfless, while Lord is just pure selfishness by abusing her minions to make herself feel better and making them feel smaller. Again, she's like one of those classic Saturday morning villains who set themselves up for defeat, as their underlings will either get weaker under their command or just join the other side when they realize their leader is a horrible person. It's good storytelling that you wouldn't expect from a show with this much cheesecake. Though this week, the cake wasn't decorated the nicest, as the animation took a noticeable nosedive, probably looking the worst it has so far. It not only takes away from a good fight, but also makes some of the subtle details hard to come across when you can hardly see them. Fortunately, the writing and sound design did kinda make up for it, between the paid cheers of the crowd to Loco's improved singing, though again, I kinda missed the cringe. Still, overall, this is a good intro to one of the more fun pairs of the show. Matama is still a ways away from becoming a top idol, but maybe she could carve out her own niche subgenre. As always, thank you for watching, and be sure to check out some of our other videos on this channel. Starting this week, we're planning to cover the latest Super Sentai, and we'll also cover other season anime in the near future. Look forward to it. Until then though, farewell for now my friends, and I think I'm just gonna take a listen to a little tune while I edit this video. Yeah, that's my jam.
う